Alright, after my whining and complaining in the previous video, multiple people reached out and helped me acquire a key for the Frosthaven beta, which I greatly appreciate. So thank you very much to everyone who did that. And I have done my best over the past 2 nights to earn that beta key. There's an NDA, so you're not really allowed to talk about the game, but I will just say that I may or may not have put in a lot of time submitting bug reports. May or may not have. Given that I'm not allowed to talk about the game, this statement is purely based off the publicly available trailers. The backgrounds and the environments look beautiful and really immersive, and it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun to play in. Just saying. And now that I have very inartfully danced around the NDA, let's get into one of my favorite characters in the game, the Banner Spear. Now, I've read multiple Reddit threads and YouTube comments of people complaining about the Banner Spear, and honestly, I feel like a lot of that is justified. It is warranted. And part of the problem comes from this Complexity 2 rating, because I just don't feel that that is accurate. Banner Spear is the kind of class where if you can make an airtight plan that works 100% of the time based off what the monsters are doing, she's going to be very strong. But if you have a plan that only works for like 50% of monster cards, and the plan goes wrong, then congratulations, your turn is move to attack for 2, which is very, very, very frustrating, especially if you're a new player and you don't know what all of the monster cards are ahead of time. So it's very difficult to make this class because your plans have to work perfectly into what the monsters are doing, and if that doesn't happen, you're going to struggle. Now, getting into the class mechanics, there are basically 2 that Banner Spear has, and they work very interestingly together. So first of all, we have, as the name would suggest, banner summons, which are just little flags that you can stick in the ground with the bottom action. Then they don't move, they don't attack or do anything other than provide an active benefit in an aura. So the Banner of Hope will heal all allies within range 3 at the start of their turn. Which is really nice. Bone Shaper especially absolutely loves this. But, you know, this banner can make you completely immune to Bane and Wound, makes poison a lot worse. So this is a really, really, really nice effect to have. Unfortunately, since the banner can't move, you plop it down in the ground and then it's done. Unless you use your cards, and at level 1 we only have 2 cards that can move the banner, but Regroup can move it for 3, and Combined Effort can move it for 2, which means that we have a grand total of 5 movement for the banner per rest cycle, which is not very much, which is going to show that positioning is going to be very important on this character. And of course, positioning becomes all the more important when we look at Banner Spear's formations, which are her unique attacks, where she needs an ally standing in all of the blue hexes of a formation. This one only has 1, and then at least 1 enemy in any of the red hexes, and then you can rotate it and flip it as you need to make it work. As long as those conditions are met, then you get to perform a nice solid attack that hits multiple targets, which has a lot of potential, which just means it becomes all the more frustrating when something goes wrong and a plan doesn't work. Generally speaking, that means in order to get the most out of a Banner Spear, you need perfect communication within the group, which isn't an issue for me because I primarily play solo and have perfect communication with myself, but I really can see, especially if Banner Spear is your first character ever in a Haven game, that Complexity 2 rating is just not doing any favors, because to play this class optimally, you need an insane amount of outside knowledge with what the monsters can do, with what your allies can do, and what they will be effective doing. Just knowing your own Banner Spear cards is only half of the puzzle of playing Banner Spear. And with all that said, we can finally move into the scoring. So all of these categories are scored on a scale of 1 to 5, so 3 is average. So initiative, I'm given a 4, movement a 2, bossing a 2.5, support and stamina, both a perfect score at a 5, and damage a 3. Diving on into initiative, we have a really, really interesting character to talk about. Really, really fun, and it all starts with Set for the Charge, a 6-speed move 4, which basically means if you want to go first, you can, and if you're already in combat, move 4 is enough to get to whatever hex you need to. This card and its buddy, Resolved Courage, at 10, both of these cards independently work really, really well in 2-turn combos where you go late one turn and then fast the next. So, for example, if we want to go really late and play Unbreakable Wall. We can go at 83, and we can pair that with something like Tip of the Spear to get a lot of movement. We go at 83. We've opened a new room here. Say all of these hounds are moving 2 for this turn. Move 2, move 2, move 2. Then we have our Reinforcement Summon, who we get to control his movement, and he just moves 2 for each turn. He would do something like this, because we get to control where he goes. Then we can move into position, and now, boom, we're set up for an Unbreakable Wall in a perfect formation. Not only do we get to hit all of these guys for 3 at 83 initiative, but it has a push 1 on it, meaning that we can push this guy away from us, and push this guy away from us, and now we're almost entirely set up for an amazing turn the following turn. We can go at 10 speed with Resolved Courage and play that with Javelin, which is a move 1 and pull, so that we can move 1, pull this hound into position, and now we are set up for a Resolved Courage. And we got to hit all of these guys for 3, straight into hitting all of them for 3 again, and we went last at 83 initiative and then first at 10. It's just a really, really good combo, and it's very, very, very easy to set this up and hit at least 2 targets. So generally, 83 is going to be slow enough that we can go late if we need to, and 6 is definitely fast enough that we can go fast if we really want to. The problem really starts to arise when we look at a card like Combined Effort, because this is a really, really, really good ability for us. Both the top is just a super easy formation, you just need an ally next to something, but then this bottom gives us move 2, grant an ally move 2. So say we had an ally, hit a wolf on the end here, and we want to set up an Unbreakable Wall. So if we pair Combined Effort with Unbreakable Wall, the fastest we can go with this is 32, which is not that fast, but it lets us move and move an ally and then get a formation off. The problem is just that this initiative can really mess things up. A much better card for setting up your initiative is going to be Javelin, where it's just a move 1, pull 2. And so, if you were already in this position, you could do something like back up and pull this guy in to hit him with a head of the hammer or a pincer movement. And you can do that at 21 initiative, which is one of the reasons that I highly recommend Boots of Speed as your starting item on Banner Spear. The 21 initiative is really good, but 11 is so much better than 21, and it sets up a ton of combo potential. The only thing is that you do kind of want jump boots. So, and a lot of other starting classes also want Boots of Speed, because it's one of, if not the best item in the game. And finally, just some interesting level up cards when it comes to initiative. Level 3, we've got this 87 speed move 4. Level 4, you should take this card at level 5 because the level 5 cards are bad, and this card's really amazing, but the other level 4 is also really good. You get a 20 speed bottom non-loss summon, so you can go fast. Boots of Speed can turn this into a 10. I really like pairing this card with the other level 4, Boldening Blow, to just summon right behind you, attack something, and get disarm. You only attack one target, but you get a disarm, and your summon means that you also get to add a bless to your own deck, and then the next turn your birdie gets to go in and attack something, and it could pull these modifiers where it turns the bird's attack 2 into at least an attack 4, because you're probably next to the target they're hitting, and it's entirely possible there's another ally, and so then all of a sudden the bird is attacking for 5, and it's a non-lost summon that we were able to summon at 20, and it got us a disarm, and it got us a bless, and it's like, what is going on here? And then very similar thing with this Barricade summon at level 6, the Banner of Valor. This thing is insane, and we're going to talk about it later, so not right now. I may be being slightly overly harsh with just a 2 in movement, given that we do have a whole bunch of move 4s, which are always nice. You gotta love move 4s. The problem is we have no top movement, no teleports, no innate jump. So scenarios with lots of hazardous or difficult terrain, you really need to make sure you bring some sort of jump. Which, it's solvable with items, but it doesn't help innately. And then also, it doesn't do you any good if you're moving 4 and running all the way into the enemies, and then leaving a banner 5 hexes behind you. So, if you are summoning a banner, having to keep that with you, it really can hold you back and leave you lagging behind the group. With just 5 hexes of banner movement per rest cycle, you really want to grab this Tireless Leadership perk really early, so that on a long rest you get an extra move too. And even if you're not playing with banners, this is still really useful for allies. One thing I love about using this, you can go at 99 and have you long rest first, and then you can move an ally onto a loot pile, and then they'll loot it when they finish their long rest, which is kind of cool. I'm trying to hide my biases here and not be overly optimistic for Banner Spear. So we're only getting to 2.5 on bosses, a little below average. We do have some pretty unique tools. We don't have access to attacking the same target 5 or 8 or 12 times in a single round, which is always the most effective thing to do against a boss. But we do have other tools that can be pretty good. The Banner of Strength gives us and all allies in range 2 +1 to 1 attack per turn. So, you know, if you have 2 other allies or just 1 ally and a summon yourself, this thing can be adding 3 damage per turn. When you're facing bosses, most of the time you're just going to be standing in the same small little area, but a lot of the time there will be things summoned on all sides of you, so this thing might only survive for like 3 or maybe 4 turns. And you might have to find yourself moving it around to try to keep it safe. But, you know, bringing this out with a bottom action and having it contribute 12 or so potential damage to a boss is not horrible. Another thing that we have that's really interesting, we have these +1 for each ally adjacent to a target, and normally these aren't going to proc very much, but against a boss, it's very easy for us to have a summon and maybe 1 or 2 other allies, depending on player count. So this perk can actually scale to be really, really good into bosses. If it's giving you +3 or +4 damage, you'll take that every time. We also, we have some rolling +1s in the attack modifier deck, 4 of them, which is not bad, can't complain about that. And we are one of the best blessing characters in the game, so we can give ourselves blesses if we have a summon behind us, and we'll be handing out 2 blesses when we use Boldening Blow, since we have to have an ally in both of the blue hexes. So generally it's like 1 to ourselves from a summon and 1 to an ally, and we get to do an attack 4. Most bosses are going to be immune to the disarm, but still, an attack 4 bless self, bless ally is a really good action, especially when we have the Banner of Strength to increase all of our base damages. And so pincer movement can become an attack 6, and maybe we get a rolling +1 into the bless, and we've dealt 14 damage, and that is not a bad turn. Also, along with those perks that give +1 for each adjacent ally, we have the ranged attacks Lead from Afar and Pinning Charge, which have those effects built into them. So Lead from Afar, with just 3 allies, this is already a base attack 8, and then you could draw a Bless on it, or a rolling +1 into a Bless. And the damage can be surprisingly good, and that was without even Banner of Strength factored in. Banner Spear also has one of the most unique mechanics, especially for facing bosses. The bottom summon of Banner of Valor, negate the first source of damage to an adjacent ally each round. That is so good. Basically, this means that you always win any 1v1 with something that will only be hitting a single target, which that's not really what bosses do, but if you have yourself and an ally or 2 in front to make sure that you tank hits and the Banner of Valor is never getting hit, this thing can keep you alive for a really long time, especially when you're in the later game facing a monster level 5 or 6 or 7 boss and they're attacking for 8 or 10 or 12 every turn. This thing is insane. It's so good. Definitely my favorite banner the banner has. All right, we're going to be here all night listening to me talk about supporting with the Banner Spear, because you are so insanely good at supporting. It's really cool. First of all, we'll start off really simple. We've got heals. We've got at all costs, heal all allies, no range requirement, only a line of sight requirement. Heal 3, and then you suffer a damage for each ally whose hit point value went up. So if they're poisoned, or if your ally's already full health, then you don't have to worry about the suffering the damage, but this can remove wounds from everybody, and you're probably going to be getting like, 3 to 5 health of hit points healing out of it, and maybe suffering 2 damage yourself, so not too bad. Also, the bottom of this summons a little non-lost summon guy who just runs in and tanks a hit for you after hopefully helping you get a formation off, so that's some damage mitigation for the party. We've got even more healing. Of course, there's the healing banner. We've got the healing and the poisoning out of Let Them Come, increasing ally damage. We've got really good regenerate with both a regroup and meat grinder. So we have top and bottom heal and regenerate. and we can use these on ourselves or allies. So it's very easy in between rooms to be like, oh, okay, well, 2 of us need to heal like 7 health before we go into the next room. I'll just move up, put a regenerate on myself, heal you for 2, and put a regenerate on you. And now both of us, after we move to the door and long rest, we're going to be ready to go. Meat Grinder also gives us access to Wound, which is nice. We're one of the best disarming characters in the whole game. Rallying Cry gives us a really, really, really easy formation that lets us disarm something. Especially, this is really good to pair with the 6-speed move 4, because if you just have an ally next to somebody, all you have to do is run around to the other side, and at 6 speed, you can disarm something, meaning you can guarantee you are protecting an ally for a turn. Very similar thing with Boldening Blow. This one's a little bit harder to set up. Generally, I can always get off a Boldening Blow on turn 1 of a scenario by just moving next to 2 allies with Javelin and pulling an enemy in. Javelin is really, really good for setting up Boldening Blow, because you just need to get next to those allies, pull something into you. You give out 2 Blesses, which is insane, and a Disarm, and you deal damage, and you got to pull a modifier, so who knows what you ended up pulling with that. And I don't think it's too much of a spoiler. There's an item that can be unlocked that I really, really like that makes this action even better. All of that, you know, I didn't even mention the Immobilize on Resolved Courage. Generally, this Immobilize you're not going to get too much out of, but it is possible to go fast and around, immobilize things, and run away. You just have to have the formation set up on the previous turn, which is kind of harder to do. But we do have access to Immobilize to make sure that we keep an ally safe. And we can set up allies really, really well. If your buddy is saying like, man, I would have a really good turn if I could get to the boss this turn, or if I could just get in there, I just don't have enough movement. Well, you can help with that. Regroup to just move your ally a little bit. Maybe you're even moving them into position for you to get a formation off, but that also gets them close enough to hit the priority target that they wanted to reach on their turn. We just have a little bit of everything, and we do a lot of it really well. And I didn't mention the Banner of Valor again yet, which is really, really cool, and I love the way it pairs with the level 9 card, because you can summon 2 banners. You can summon Rallying Cry first, and then Barricade second, meaning that Rallying Cry is the banner that will take aggro from an enemy, and then when you take the level 9 card, you get an attack 5, target 3, You need your banners next to you, but you get attack 5, target 3, then you teleport both of the banners next to one of the targets. You just make sure, or well, if you summoned the Banner of Strength first, the Banner of Strength will be what takes the focus, and if it's adjacent to the Banner of Valor, the Banner of Valor keeps it safe. So not only is this attack 5, target 3, range 4, but it also essentially disarms a target, because the Banner of Valor is keeping the Banner of Strength safe. It's so cool. It's so cool. And we have access to these stuns, you know, just in case we needed like a little something else. Let's just throw in an attack 7 stun. Head of the Hammer is a loss and easier to set up. And Trithrust, it can be very difficult to get this formation. But if you're trying, if you really try for it, it is possible to set this up with the bottom of something like Boldening Blow. We have been talking about defense all throughout, so we can make this one a little bit quick, but we're still an insane character when it comes to defense and stamina. We've got this Unbreakable Wall to give us permanent shield 1, with the only penalty being that we lost 1 card and all of our ranged attacks have 1 reduced range, which is not bad at all. The Barricade, Banner of Valor, we've talked about it multiple times, absolutely insane. One of the summon, I mean, this thing can easily prevent 100 damage in a scenario. How is that fair? Deflecting Maneuver, this is a really interesting shield, especially for early game and in scenarios that have something like a bunch of Ancient Artillery or Algox Archers. It can be pretty good, at least early on. Hold the Line, I have tried this card a few times, and after trying the other level 4 card, the Air Support, I like that a lot more at level 5 than Hold the Line. But this is a very good defensive option to shield yourself and shield your allies. And then multiple times I played this card intending to play the top, but I saw that, you know, skeletons were attacking one target with all attacks the round or something like that. There were a lot of melee attacks going off, and I just end up burning this for the bottom loss, because Retaliate 3 with Shield 2 can deal a lot of damage and just keep everybody safe for the round if you move in and just say that you are hitting me this round. We also get Iron Will, which is a really, really, really cool perk. during your turn, you get to gain shield 2 for the round, and we can go at 5 and get shield 2, or we can just go at 6 and move in and hit something and then give ourselves shield 2 for the round, which is obviously really good. And of course, we get to ignore negative item effects, which means we can wear armor. So when it comes to physically tanking damage and all of the disarms that we have and all of the non-loss summons that we summon that prevent damage and the Banner of Valor that we summon that prevents damage, and the fact that you really can get through a scenario without playing any losses. Like the only losses you're mainly considering are going to be banners, and if you can see that it's a really long scenario that has a whole bunch of rooms, you don't want to summon a banner anyway if it's going to have to move 25 hexes throughout a scenario, which means that you just weren't going to play a loss, and so you don't mind playing for a really long time. Conversely, if it's going to be a scenario where you just have to survive for 12 rounds, you can just plop down 2 or 3 banners at whatever position you're protecting, because if you just have to survive for 12 rounds, that means that monsters are spawning and they're going to be coming at you, and those banners, not only will they give you a ton of value throughout, but they'll also end up tanking for you when it's the final couple rounds. You can just run and hide behind your banners. So good for anything that's stamina based. Damage can just be really hit or miss on Banner Spear. You know, if you can get a 3-target attack 3 with Unbreakable Wall and combo that into a 3-target attack 3 with Resolve Courage, that's going to be really good. But if you're just playing in 2-player, there are going to be fewer monsters, which means it's going to be much less likely that 3 things are going to walk up to you and allow you to get these formations off. And you only have 1 ally, which means that they need to be in basically the perfect position to help you get the formations off. So in 2-player, you can make a plan that works perfectly in both 2-player and in 4-player, but in 2-player, you might only be hitting 1 target, whereas in 4-player, you might be getting 3. So you do the exact same thing, you're just way more effective in a higher player party. That said, we're not bad in 2-player. You know, if there are only 2 or 3 monsters, then disarming one of them has much more value than it would have in a 4-player party where there are 6 or 7 monsters. So we're not a horrible class when it comes to just a 2-player party, but we do deal a little bit less damage. We do have some really fun cards like Meat Grinder. This thing is pretty insane for a level 2 card. It's really not that hard to set up, given that we have move 4 at 6 speed to just run around, and all we need is an ally who had 2 enemies come up and hit them the previous turn. So I love Meat Grinder, really good attack. We also have just really high base damages with cards like Tri-Thrust, which can be hard to set up, but Leave from Afar, it's kind of similar to Tri-Thrust, but you don't need a specific formation, you just need a bunch of allies. But then our really high base damages pair really well with the blesses that we get from Boldening Blow. So, you know, once again, it's kind of like if you get lucky and you draw those blesses at a good time, you're doing crazy damage. So it's hit or miss, but there definitely is a lot of potential there. And the last Banner Spear that I played, she was outputting crazy damage. And finally, onto the attack modifier deck, and there's like so much good here. Like, where is the bad perk? There's only 1 perk on here that is like sometimes not that good. But we'll start off with just one of the absolute best perks in the game. You get to ignore negative item effects, which is really good all by itself. And you get to remove a -1. Yes, please. I guess the big downside of this deck is we can't remove our -2. And then we take out 3 more -1s. So that's 4 -1s missing, removed total, meaning that our final deck will have 1 -1, 1 -2, and then we only get to take out 2 zeros. So we'll also have 4 zeros. So 7 of the original base, not amazing cards. But we get to put a lot of damage in the deck, which is really nice. These replace the 0 cards with +1 for each ally adjacent to the target. Most of the time we're doing something like a formation, so we have at least 1 ally next to the target anyway. So most of this time, this is going to be a +2 at least, if not more. +1 disarm, yes please. Never complain about that. Okay, maybe I complain about that because you always draw it when you're doing the disarm on Rallying Cry or Boldening Blow already, and then the +1 disarm is just redundant, but having too much disarm isn't the end of the world. +2 push 1, I guess I wish that this push 1 were push 2 instead. Be easier to set up your own formations if you could push something a little bit further, but it's not the end of the world. You're still adding a +2. You draw a +2 on an attack, you're not going to complain about that. Then 4 rolling +1s, 4 rolling heal 1 selves. Amazing. I love having good rolling cards in the deck. Then onto the worded perks, we have really, really good ones. At the end of each of your long rests, grant an ally within range 3, move 2. Helps your banners keep up, helps move allies onto extra loot. It's just good. It's just always good. This is the one that is maybe a little bit hit or miss. Whenever you open a door with a move ability, add +3 move. This can be insane, because you can open a door and you go really, really far. If it's an escape scenario, you open your door with a move 4 and then now it's a move 7. Really nice. Also, it means that you can move 4 towards a door and then open it and then move 3 to back up and make everything come towards you and not reach you. Unfortunately, there are a lot of scenarios in Frosthaven that just don't have doors. So if you take this early on and then you play like 2 or 3 levels in a row with no doors, it's really disappointing. And finally, once each scenario, during your turn, you can gain shield 2 for the entire round. Really good. Overall, really, really good. Maybe I wish we could take out a few more of the zeros. And we can't remove the -2, which we don't have any self-strengthen or anything, so we're not going to be getting through the deck super quickly. But we do have a whole bunch of multi-target attacks. So overall, not a bad attack modifier deck. And finally, onto recommended changes for the Banner Spear. And I really struggled with this because I really like the Banner Spear. I think she's perfect the way she is. She reminds me a lot of Saw, which was my favorite class from Gloomhaven. But, we run into something went wrong here. If somebody were to come up to me and say, I don't like the Banner Spear, I would say, you're wrong. If 5 people were to come up to me and say they don't like the Banner Spear, maybe they have a bit of a point. If there's like a 30 to 40 to 50% consensus among the community that they don't like the Banner Spear, then something definitely has gone wrong and something has missed the mark somewhere. I think one of the simplest changes that could be made is to get rid of the complexity 2 rating. That's not true. It's not even close to true. It's not even a little bit accurate. I don't know where that possibly would have come from. But second of all, we could make Banner Spear a locked class, I think. If you are new to Haven in general, you never played any of the other ones, you don't know what any monsters do. You don't know what any of your allies do. How are you supposed to plan formations that rely on you knowing your allies' play patterns, their initiatives, their cards, their play style that they're going to want to do, and not knowing the monster's play style? If you're brand new, you don't know that guards have a ranged card at 35 where they could back up away from your formation and hit you. And like it just doesn't work if you don't know what everybody can do. So if Banner Spear were a locked class, you would be forced to have interacted with a lot of the new monsters and seen their cards at least once before. And maybe going into a Shrike Fiend that they have both a 90 and a 10. So like there's a huge initiative range that you need to play around, but with Boots of Speed and Unbreakable Wall and Resolved Courage and Set for the Charge, you actually can. I think that actually would help Banner Spear a lot, because I think a lot of new players, a lot of new people came in, saw Complexity 2, they're like, okay, I can play this, and then their turns turn into move 2, attack for 2, and that just sucks. That doesn't feel good. If you want more tangible changes to the class, I've got 3. I don't really love any of these too much. First of all, we could lower the initiative at all costs, maybe make it 30, make it decently fast so that we can play this as a bottom, summon it in, and play Unbreakable Wall in the same turn. I don't really love that idea because that's kind of that's a really nice part about the air support at level 4, is that it's a really fast non-loss bottom summon that sets up all of your formations so well. But, maybe if this were 30 initiative, it would still be able to get this effect. I don't really ever bring this card unless I really want the top heal in like a really heavy poisoning scenario or something like that. But it's probably pretty good in 2-player, which is not something I play very much. Another change that you could go for, combined effort on this bottom. It's really frustrating when you move 2 hexes away from an ally, and then now they're 3 hexes away from you, and they're not in range for you to grant them a move 2. So combined effort could be buffed to range 3, but that also might just be way too strong of a buff. Maybe it could have an enhancement pip on it, and then you would at least have to commit to paying gold to enhance it and having access to enhancements. It's a possibility. You could also add an enhancement pip to Set for the Charge to allow this to become a move 4 at 6 speed with jump. That does sound really overpowered, but also like you know, like this card is going to be your best friend. Like you'd love to bring it along and make it better over time, just because it's always going to be there with you. And last and least, we get to the tier list part of the tier list video. And, you know, we got here in 30 minutes, which is a little bit faster than I was expecting. Hopefully they don't just get longer and longer with each part. That would be quite long by the end. And in the previous part, I was accused of a little bit of tier list inflation, which is accurate. I can't really argue against that. Half of my tiers are A and above. I would just say, as a counter argument, that I really don't think that there are bad classes in Frosthaven. I really think that everything that's A tier and above is going to help in every scenario that it comes to. The classes in B tier, they can struggle. They can feel like they bring the party down a little bit. And you know what? We can counteract a little bit of this inflation by changing this to sometimes D, sometimes A, because the class in here really can struggle sometimes. But it's Bannerspear's turn to get ranked, and she's not sometimes D, sometimes A. She's not even B tier. She's not going to be A tier because I love this class. She's so good. She has to go in A+, is what I really, really, really want to say. The problem is, in 2-player, she loses a lot of effectiveness because you're not going to get fully buffed out formations. You're not going to have a ton of allies adjacent to targets for the cards where you deal bonus damage for each adjacent ally. And so it feels to me like we're going to have to go down to A tier, as much as that does pain me. Now, keep in mind that the classes will be ranked within the tiers. So right now, Bannerspear has the #1 spot in A tier. She's the strongest class in A tier as of right now. And you will just have to stick around and subscribe and come back next time to find out if Bannerspear can hold on to that #1 spot, or if Bone Shaper goes in a different tier.